Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Minahan, Talk Cosmos. And today is the week before Thanksgiving here in the United States. We are looking at the moon once again, that ever-loving companion of Earth as it rotates the quickest of all. It doesn't rotate, actually, it doesn't spin, but it does orbit around Earth in the quickest cycle. And this is Scorpio, the new moon that we're beginning. There's so much we could talk about, but we're refocusing. We're going to do, well, we'll talk about it when we get started. Oh, and I need to mention, John is busy with a personal event that takes him out of state. Anyway, he's away. He won't be with us this month, but we have Amanda back. So let's get started with Kaleidoscope Visions. Thanks.
Understanding the cosmic energies influencing our consciousness by the 4 major moon phases for the month, this is your Kaleidoscope Visions panel.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
I'm Amanda Pierce. I'm a soul-centered astrologer, blending intuition into my practice. I believe the universe is always working for our highest good and seek to empower my clients in our readings. I teach a 4-week series of empowerment-based meditation classes that connect you deeper into your own intuition and innate power. I work in communications with a passion for employee experience. I also have a BA in psychology. I'm passionate about healing and enjoy helping others create new realities and shift old paradigms.
And like the Sufi poet Rumi says, you are the entire ocean in a drop.
Hello, Amanda. Glad to.
Hello, nice to be back. Good to see you, Sue.
It is. Yes, indeed. This is such a month of renovations. You know, I came up with that word, and as I'm experiencing it, it's rather incredible, it seems, just the concept of, reforming something.
Yeah, lots of transformation potential available to us with this new moon. And we're going to talk about that and how that's working with the snake year and this being a 9-year, 2025. So excited to talk about that.
I'm so glad that you've reconnected us with those thoughts that we started with back in February, because we're reassessing our perspectives. You know, all the information is changing, particularly we'll get started with the new moon that we just experienced because Mercury is powerfully connected. Okay, here we have it. We have this Scorpio new moon, the cycle pomp, and it's in its world of it can travel between the underground and the heavens and the underground, right? That's the mythology.
Yes. Yeah. And in Jungian psychology, the psychopomp is the mediator between the unconscious and the conscious realms. So we're going to be doing lots of that this month.
It is. And perhaps just like renovations, I thought it has to be renovations. And now I see, as we will progress even with this panel, we're making some adjustments because we're going to focus on the new moon and the full moon. We'll talk about all the phases in between, but that's where we can elaborate more on dynamics that are meaningful of sort of the trend, the flow. You know, looking at Mercury at this point of he, she, it, Mercury in all its great forms is experiencing soon the post shadow in a week, when it returns from its depth into Scorpio at 28 degrees, and it'll go direct at 20 degrees next week on the 29th. And then it continues till it reaches almost 7 degrees Sagittarius.
Yeah, and we're still digesting in that post shadow period. So we're new moon, we're Mercury retrograde, full moon, we're post shadow, but we're still like in that energy of what we have uncovered or reclaimed for ourselves with the Mercury retrograde. So that will be part of our journey.
Yeah. And the other feature of this month, besides the fact of so strong with bringing in more information that, as you say, is the unconscious that perhaps is being revealed finally into our awareness, is this grand water trine, because Jupiter is trining Saturn, not exact. I had an earlier talk a few weeks ago about that aspect. It will perfect several times later, but it's still right now in water. Absolutely, that dynamic between expansion and contraction, it's powerful. Perhaps you're always wonderful, Amanda, at talking about these phases, because there's 8 that astrology looks at. We've been focusing on 4, which involve the quarter moons, is when you look in the sky and it's half lit in one direction or the other. But there's really 8, if you want to brief us a little bit.
Yeah, so mostly we're talking about what we've been talking about this year is the new moon, the first quarter moon, the full moon, and the last quarter moon. And the new moon is that seed point where something is gestating and it's not quite fully seen. A new moon you don't see it in the sky. And it's a point of where we can seed some intentions for ourselves for the new moon and for what's to come. And then the first quarter moon is when we start to come across possibly some blocks in our path. Or some type of action is required, and it's outward action. So it's something in our environment shows up that we're going to have to deal with, that it has to do with this seed point. Then we get to the full moon and we have all the information, much more information than we've ever had. The full moon shines brightly, it's fully illuminated. We have much more information and are able to, sometimes it can feel very emotional, but also there can be a sense of detachment because we can see it fully now. And so we can now make choices that are in our best interest because we have that visibility. And then the third quarter moon, this is another action moon, but it's yin action. So it's going internal. So the lessons, the information that we now have from that full moon period, we are integrating it and we're working through it and we're metabolizing it so that we're metabolizing it into wisdom, essentially, so that as we go forward, now we have this knowledge that from the previous cycle, and each cycle we get something different and it adds to our knowledge base and our wisdom base.
It is true. They signify stepping points because they're a week apart. It's a routine basis. The moon orbiting around Earth, the lunar cycle is every 28 days. It cycles through all 12. However, beginning at this point, one of the reasons to and I'm speaking to everybody here, not you, you know this, I think, but to identify the fact that this is a very emotionally charged consciousness between our Mercury bringing in such a connection with the sun and the moon. So let's look at that. And I think the emotional themes, so, if people want, they can notice what the quarter moons are. But here, in addition, we're in that moment when we're retrograde. Many of the planets are retrograde. Mercury is in Scorpio, but we have the dwarf planet Ceres, the large gas planets Jupiter and Saturn, Chiron, that this is according to how they are in the sky, because Chiron orbits between connecting Saturn and Uranus's orbits. It crosses both of them. And then Neptune plus Eris, the dwarf planet at far out that is exclusivity and inclusive. We're reassessing this enormous process of emotional depth.
Yeah, all the rewords, like retrograde is has to do with the rewords, like review, reassess, like you said, rediscover, and my favorite is reclaim, like reclaiming pieces of ourselves. So this is, and this includes Mercury retrograde. When I say the retrogrades are really a gift to us, because they allow us to look back on things that we possibly missed and really digest it. Mercury is such a quick planet that it's like, it's buzzing around, and for all of us, we don't always pick up all that information. And so getting that chance to rewind it and, slow it back down and go over some of that content that we experienced in our lives, really helps us kind of get the point a little bit more. And we all need that.
Yes, rewinding, absolutely pausing to reflect and let it bubble up, because emotions aren't linear. It's a quantum experience where we've put things together, we've managed, we're coping perhaps, but perhaps we're finding some difficulty that keeps emerging. And it's like, what is this about? Where is it? And here we have such a recipe of assistance. Let's include all of ourselves. And it isn't, that's what I loved what you were saying, is to reclaim, because those parts could be repurposed into a new story, or redesigned into how they're useful, because the parts may never be that gorgeous painting. The colors might be a little more bold here or more diffused there, but it's still a portrait.
Yeah. Oh. And I love those words, redesign, repurpose. Those are great retrograde words. And, the Mercury is the brain, and our brain is malleable. Like, we can make shifts to it. And so we can learn new ways of being in the world and understanding things. And there's a lot of potential for that too.
Out of bound. We have some ongoing out of bound patterns. The moon and Pluto have a 10-year period. So on this particular new moon, yes, the moon and Pluto are out of bounds, along with Black Moon Lilith, which is a point in reference to the moon. Also a very energetic, doesn't want to be left out, wants to be all of itself, this huge burning desire. It's more of the receptive feminine, however that is in a person. And Hygeia of health and toxicity, Vesta, our hearth, what we're protecting. It's adds to a whole picture.
Out of bounds planets are they aren't playing by the rules of what the usual constraints are of that planet. And so for the moon to be out of bounds, plus the moon's ruler Mars to be out of bounds, there's a lot of potential for big shifts here. And the moon being in Scorpio, I mean, that's all about shifting and transformation anyway. So lots of really real potential for depth here.
Yeah, I will say, Amanda, that Mars, because you probably picked up on the full moon, Mars is out of bounds on that one. And this one has Pluto, whereas Pluto isn't on the other, because Pluto and the moon kind of shift in and out, but they are during this 10-year focus. So in a sense, they both are, because vibrationally, who knows how it's working.
Yeah.
You're right. It's
Good call.
full
Good call
steam
out.
ahead. Anyway, well, let's talk about Year of the Snake. It still is. It will be until February. And this is transformation right there.
Yeah. And the snake is, it's like a powerful totem for healing and for transformation. Everyone knows the image of the snake shedding its skin and kind of making space for renewal and growth, letting go of old habits and patterns. The snake, though, is also, it's patient and it takes its time. It's very strategic. And so if you haven't experienced the shedding your skin this year yet, that's okay. There's still time. The snake is waiting for the right moment. And when I say the snake is waiting, what I mean is like your internal psyche, your unconscious is waiting for that right moment. Your spirit is waiting for that right moment for the transformation to happen. So this new moon is so potent that there's just a lot of potential for shifting and for making big changes in our lives.
And I love, because, okay, the snake, as we know, coils ready to strike. So it is in a sense, that replicates this idea of the strategic ability, because they're gifted thinkers, creators, decent. That's one word when I look out. It's like they are inherently conscious people that are very diplomatic and good at spiritual work. I was noting different characteristics that I found. But the wood, this is a green wood snake year, and that adds to this desire to growth, to communicate, which, hey, Mercury, I'm so very thankful that you reintroduced our thought of this Chinese astrology, because all these ideas, these metaphysical concepts that cultures have worked out apply in various spectrums. So.
Yeah, and wood years, which is any year that ends in a 4 or 5. So 2024 and 2025 were wood years, and they do mark periods of accelerated growth, which dovetails really nicely into this year, 2025, being a 9 universal year. This is 9, meaning a period of completion. So you add up 2025, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. So that's our 9 year. And this is the year before, after a 9 year, we go right into a 1 year, and which is new start. So 9 is about like wrapping things up and kind of detoxing our lives and letting go of things that no longer suit us. And the universe is just going to kind of bring that to us, relationships, jobs, personal habits. Like, it may just fall away, or you may be like, no,
in a sense,
I'm letting this go. And like, it's a very conscious thing. Yeah.
Right now with Scorpio, it's magnetic. I think magnetically we're being propelled into this emotional desire that really is impossible to avoid confrontation within. It's so internal. In order to go ahead, we need to really listen to that mercurial cycle pump that's bringing up those past. Let's look a little bit at the astrology. We have some time here, because this seed point that was on the 20th, today's the 23rd, it's right at the crescent time. It's perfect for all your vows, intentional.
Yeah, we're still
New
definitely still in that seed period.
We are. And that was on the 20th at 1:47, just a second after that in the morning in Eastern time. There's a stellium. There are 4 planets and Black Moon Lilith, which is a point, all in Scorpio. You could say conjunct, almost anyway, but the sun, moon, and Mercury are all at 28 degrees. That's very late, close to the anoretic. We've been experiencing a whole month of this intensity, and now we have a time to culminate, in a sense, almost like a new review, such as as we were talking about a full moon. It's like a gift. We get to go, you know what? This is how I want to propel forward.
Yeah, and Scorpio is it wants to cut to the truth. It does not want any frills or
No
any
prisoners.
fantasy. It's like, I want to know exactly what is the emotional truth, what's the real core of this, and I want to get to it. And so there's this real potential for that. There's an emotional need to go into that with this new moon. And so any seeds that you want to plant around that will be very potent and powerful right now. It's about confronting what has been avoided. Like, that is Scorpio.
It is, because you've actually gone down to where the roots are, down into that cavernous idea of Hades, down to below where it's dark, and trying and shining some light into looking at those shadows more. By shadows, what have we been avoiding? And with all the retrogrades, that's where we live anyway. Live in the sense of consciousness. In Scorpio, the death idea is that finality of a cycle, of something ending. Now, it can be physical, but all incarnation is some kind of spiritual attraction into the spirit to give it form. And things have a lifespan. Mortality is the truth of a project, an idea, a cycle, whatever it is. And we mourn that, whether it's a cycle or an issue, there is a certain factor involved, but we need to see what the attachments are, because are those resources that we've been using, Scorpio is all about exchanging resources.
Yeah.
The polarity point of Taurus, and those sometimes have dried up. They're like not functional. They're not being marketed. It's not growing. It's not operating. So you've got to give it its rights, its dues, its love. And
those things that we're avoiding in our lives are usually due to some type of trauma that happened at some point in our lives. And those trauma pieces are blocking us from stepping into our true power and like fully being empowered beings. And so when we get to that place where we're like, I'm not avoiding this anymore, I'm really going to look at it, that is when we start to reclaim our power.
Yeah, we fall perhaps to a point where we can own up to the fact that you're on how you're feeling. Maybe you're feeling unhappy in some way. You're not feeling right. It can be manifested in poor sleep or just nervousness or overeating or whatever it is, being irritable, all the things that emotionally seem to step into a life where you are just not making you feel glad or enthused, not feeling enthused.
Yeah.
Realize, okay, I'm just going to have to say thank you very much in gratitude and let go. Because here we have, as a seed point, Pluto and Mars, such as you were bringing up. And amazingly, they're both each going to be out of bounds. And they are in Aquarius and Sag, which are, it's elevation in itself. And it's looking at that new pattern What's the
Yeah.
vision?
I mean, Mars is how we consciously drive our own evolution. That's
Mhm.
the evolutionary astrology viewpoint of what Mars does for us.
I
So
love
it's
it.
how, yeah, it's like it's a desire piece. Like, what do we want? And Mars in Sag is a warrior for truth, for meaning, for expanding your horizons, for, opening yourself up um new truths. Shadow side, it can be a little impulsive, um, can be a little evangelical, kind of forcing what it considers to be its truth on other people. So there's some pieces to watch out for. See if they if those start cropping up, then you might want to like take a little bit of a step back
Reassess.
and reassess. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yes, with a flow, with a grand trine, I study vibrational astrology, and Linda Berry has researched, as she does. She's a magnificent genius instructor that's was trained and still working with David Cochran. They've discovered that the trine is not passive at all. It's an active force that requires the individual or circumstances to find out in some manner how to keep that flow moving, and will do anything to continue it.
Mm,
So that changes a perspective, that this
mhm.
emotionality of the growth, these outer planets with the moon and cycle pump. Let's look at our last slide before we take a little getaway moment, because unless you have something more, and you can go right back to it, Amanda.
Yeah, there's one more thing if we want to talk about that
Okay. Yeah,
after
go
this.
ahead. Mhm.
Okay, so just also to note, we do have this grand trine, but opposite the sun and moon is Uranus.
Oh,
And
yes.
this
Thank
is
you.
yeah, this is a big one. So this is kind of forming a kite um
Oh, I didn't.
energy pattern here. And there's so much to look at, right?
I'm so glad you brought well, it's not actually a kite, because the sextile
Close to a kite.
between, yeah, it has been, but it is an opposition. And
Yeah.
I kept knowing. I'm so glad. I'm amazed. Thank you. That is imperative, because that is sudden. It's like, what is in the moment right now that
Yeah.
spontaneously wants to have our attention. And more than that, it's in this. I meant to bring up the fact it's in a mini. Well, it is in a mini. Well, there's a mini grand trine, and that's what I didn't bring up. Is that this mini grand trine with Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto. I think I added it, and then I forgot to add it.
I
Anyway, it's ongoing forever. So you're
yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
before we take off in this little motorcycle, but great gade that we're with here, we have the new moon with Mercury charging along. Venus is part of that stellium, and she is what we call the Thales point, because with the nodes, as we're going between our evolutionary past, that comfortable bringing in our fixed energy that sees the details and how to kind of control the chaos that we're experiencing. Those values that she is relentlessly diving into in Scorpio is really a secret remedy to seeing the big picture in our daily lives of how to bring in perhaps spiritual growth. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and another planet here in Scorpio. So, more of that focus on the depth. I like Venus here because with this new moon, it can be quite intense. Scorpio is intense in general. And then with an opposition to Uranus, it's like kind of bringing it in your face a bit. And Venus is one of the benefics, meaning it brings beautiful things to us. And it here in this really
Mm.
nice pattern with the nodes being our kind of our destiny path. Like this is where we're what we're moving towards. It's
And the reason I bring it up, because I'm noticing the time, Amanda, that's all, is because we are focusing on the moons itself, is that Mercury, because Mercury is so conjunct, rules the South Node. And the South Node is getting help from Venus.
Yes.
That
Also,
is attracting us, another attraction, magnetic attraction.
Venus is associated with the snake as well. So this is a planet that we look towards all year for that transformation piece. And this is in a beautiful aspect, a helper aspect for our transformation. So it's going to help us smooth things out a little bit on this path.
Well, and I'll have to, you always inspire new thoughts here for me. So I'm eager to get away, but I love completing this thought. And that is that Venus ruling our values is absolutely imperative with us determining what resources are we wanting to exchange with other people that have their shelf of internal or project resources. It's this huge gift. Let's break away.
Beautiful.
We'll be right back. This is Talk Cosmos with Amanda Pierce, and we're talking about next the full moon coming up. So get ready. We'll be right back. Thanks.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the Yang period of Sagittarius, ruled by the largest of all planets, Jupiter, the Roman god, or Zeus by the ancient Greeks. By leaving a cycle based on power and powerlessness of life and death and regeneration, involving committed relationships, Sagittarius energy finds meaning for an expanded perspective and potential for actualization in their search for truth. As a mutable fire sign depicted by the centaur, Sagittarius is adventurous and seeks the beyond. Sagittarius travels to far places, physically and mentally, to find the truths of life.
Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga, we cover the world of animals. This week, that's an encore presentation. Tune in to hear our last show with Dr. Nels and Linda Rasmussen. Together, they helped callers and their animal friends with emotional, behavioral, and physical issues, and you can receive a surrogate just by listening and following along with Linda's instructions. Hope you can join us. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Alternative Talk 1150, online at 1150kknw.com.
Hi, we are back again. I'm with Amanda Pierce. You can find her at amandamoonastrology@gmail.com. Just to share that last week we did the archetypal symbols, and that was focus on the new moon as well, but it involves many other aspects such as Sabian symbols, numerology, some Vedic, chakras. If you want to focus on Pluto, there's a wonderful program that I did with much of its myth with Jen Sachs. And then coming up next week, again, we have mystery charts, but this time it's going to be about transformative people or events with a great cast of 8 people. This particular full moon that we're now looking at, which is on the 4th of December, and we'll give that details later, has a few reduced retrogrades. It'll have still Jupiter, Saturn, Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, and Eris. Pluto and Mercury have Well, anyway, that's what we have. So as far as out of bounds, now we have Mars, as we were mentioning. Let's look at this. It is at 13 degrees, 3 minutes of Gemini. What fascinates me, Amanda, right off the bat, okay, it'll be December 4th in the afternoon, Eastern time, 6:13:47, just before 6:14 p.m. So there is the Mercury, which will be direct at that time, because remember on the 29th, a little over a week from now, it'll be, or in a week, it'll go direct, but we'll be in that shadow period. And what amazes me that I was going to say, and I'll just throw out, is that the relationship to every new moon for these 6 months period, because it stays at the same degree between an eclipse season to the next for half of the year, and it's at 28 degrees for this 6 month period, means that the next full moon is always going to be by sign in conjunct. It won't have the same modality. Here we have fixed versus mutable, and it won't be the same element. We have water versus air. Now, it happens to be water and air really like each other. I mean, they're always in some kind of relationship, because depending if they get, air is in water to begin with, so steam just makes it elevate. But should we look at the square?
Let's look at it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
and
well, actually, maybe we can talk about the moon being in Gemini first. So this is our full moon period. The energy is intense, but also illuminating. Like this is where we get a lot of new information about this cycle, about what we've been going through in this cycle. And we're taking that emotional intensity of the Scorpio new moon, and it's shifting now into more of like our language reality, and into the story and the logic and connections, connecting information. And so we can see multiple perspectives with Gemini. That's like one of the beautiful things about Gemini. It sees, it has a duality lens, so it can see things in different ways. And this can be a time where you're speaking your truth. Gemini loves to speak, especially Gemini moons. If you know anyone with a Gemini moon, they tend to be chatty ones. And so speaking your truth with a flexibility and a curiosity, those are other pieces that Gemini is really good at doing. So this is what our full moon is going to be looking like. And now with this, like, just this visual here of this really dynamic grand square, it's really tied into our destiny path and where we are headed. So this will be interesting to work through.
Indeed. Because we're right now still in this scorpionic energy, I'm realizing when you say about language that there's a gift here of reclaiming new language. That's very hopeful, because to express something, there is a matter of defining or not just categorizing, but labeling something, naming it. People are named. We're not numbers. That was part of the horror. I'm reading Search for Meaning by Victor, the great book at the Holocaust. And that was part of the destruction, was everybody had a number. There was no personality intimacy, no intimacy whatsoever. So therefore, to name what we're feeling, then we can observe it properly. And and also to add at this point that our new focus is to include the rulers of the new moon or the full moon. And here we have two, which happen to be Jupiter of the belief systems for the sun, and Mercury, the information gatherer that you're bringing up. Yes. So,
and Mercury still in that Scorpio sign, still in that post shadow period. So still working through all of this like reclaimed content. And I like what you say about how we may be able to speak things that we haven't, that hasn't been given language before.
yeah.
We may also be able to speak it in a new way, in a way that is more empowered for us.
With a new story, LinkedIn. That's very true, because we can have facts in our lifetime that we see as, oh, this is the cause, linear like, but we don't necessarily know the whole story connected to that scenario. And more information can shift its priority in the relevance.
Or let's say like you get in this situation where there's a conflict with another person and you tend to fawn. You tend to just praise the person, agree with them, never, even if it's not really what you want, but that can be like a learned trauma response. Maybe you step out of that. Or there's lots of other ways that could show up, like our instinctual or habitual patterns can shift here.
I like your messages that you're bringing up. This square, a grand square that is very pronounced. Everything is exactly at 13 degrees. They couldn't be more activated. And squares are activation. We have the nodal axis, a great opportunity with a full moon to really refocus on our past karma into what dharma, as one way of saying it, I think, with what we want to evolve and grow and develop, which interestingly is the scope, using our unconscious and using in Pisces. It isn't easily defined always, but it can be imagination, and it can be that vision. It's in, we're using the sun in Sagittarius, which wants to see new patterns. Like even if we don't know exactly where it is, we can point and head off there.
Yeah. And Sun and Sag, it's like it wants the truth. It wants to expand its mind, like bring in more information. And the moon in Gemini, it's about like taking in lots of new data and communicating it as well. And these are the sun moon piece there's something here for us to integrate because of that square to the nodes. And so sometimes this can be a tricky piece to work. And if you find yourself, let's say, super overstimulated at this new moon, which is something that can happen to a Gemini moon, then you may want to start leaning into the Pisces North Node, which would be leaning into more of a space of surrendering into the flow. So when we're looking at like a square to the nodes, there's a resolution node for each of the planets. And for the moon, let's say you stand at the space where the moon is, you look towards the center of the chart, turn to the left. That is the North Node in Pisces. So that is the place where we're surrendering into that Pisces element of just being in the flow. You don't have to have all the facts, all the information.
Excellent. You don't need all the facts, because Virgo, bless its soul, and I have it strong in my chart, as several of us here do in different ways. I mean, my rising Saturn.
Yeah.
It's like, because what I love is compassion, that that energy of Pisces requires from us. It's important to give ourselves loving compassion for wherever we are flowing into that moment, because this is about the moon. As I'm just looking at this, I see the square and I'm going around and around in a way, but it is really focused on the moon because those nodes are lunar nodes. Every planet, as we know, with Mark Jones, he's doing the study, has nodes where it intersects with the sun orbit and the planet's orbit. But here it's the moon cycle intersecting with the sun connected to Earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shall we look at this, how there is again a very strong grand trine again? And this is where I put, where I forgot before, this ongoing mini grand trine with Uranus trine Pluto, even though Uranus is now retrograde in Taurus, because these outer planets are revisiting not long lost, but soon to be passed by cycles that we've been putting our emotional pieces together. And Mercury is still an emotional Scorpio. It's still excavating, like, all right.
I feel like, and it's like you said, this has been going on for quite some time. I don't have the dates, like how many ongoing months it's been.
The mini grand. Oh, it's been months, and it will extend probably throughout next year. So it's here.
I feel like this this energetic connection is kind of being slept on a little bit. And here's what I mean. I think there is a lot of potential for integration, conscious activation, and transforming our gifting into more conscious wisdom. So it can activate like our latent karmic potential, because all of these are outer planets. And so they're all connecting us to our different unconscious pieces within ourselves. And they're flowing together, so there's a lot of potential for us to make shifts on an unconscious level that we aren't even noticing.
It is absolutely true, particularly because remembering that Saturn and Neptune are headed towards this exact seed changing Aries point conjunction, February 20th at 0 degrees Aries. It's a 35, 36 year pattern. I think, if not 37, but it's a 35, 36. I don't think it's 30. Anyway, it's a long pattern, and it's spiritual. Again, vibrational astrology says when you take the bare necessity of what is true, Saturn, the fundamental basics, and you take the unknown beyond that's magical, you add those together, whether it could be fantasy or imagination or illusion or imagination, you put those together and it's spirit. So that's our high potential, is bringing that in as a force, as our co-partnering with creativity, really living that unknown chart day by day. I mean, chart. Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing. The snake, when it sheds its skin, it loses its eyesight for a period. It's like it gets this sheath over its eyes, and so it can't even see. It doesn't even know it's happening. And sometimes, like, transformation is happening to us, and we're not seeing it all the time. It's just there, and maybe like a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, we look back and we're like, okay, yeah, that was big.
Yeah.
So it's happening.
Or even sooner. I have to say.
Even sooner. It could be, you can know it in the moment as well, but yeah.
Well, those epiphanies come to us that suddenly the choice gets made. I think that's it. Maybe you don't see all the transformation from beginning to end. That's true, because it can be a whole scenario, a period of life. But yet we suddenly leave the eyesight returns and we see where we're headed, what now has been revealed. Because come to think of it, during that period, we have been moving, or the world's been moving. Something is different.
Yeah.
Mercury is so strong in this grand trine because not only is it making the grand emotional trine, it's still a water trine, but it's ruling that full moon. And it is also the dispositor of our south node. So, but it again, it's not on the surface, it's down deep.
Yeah. And Jupiter here, Jupiter's retrograde as well. And it being in Cancer, Cancer is associated with the mother and the baby. And so this level of depth that we're going to, we can really do some inner child work, some remothering, like really nurturing ourselves deeply at this piece. That's very empowering when you do it.
Yeah, looking at Jupiter here, it is activating our, as you had said, our chironic wounds that really are forces to be used. It's just that maybe we're looking at the different perspective instead of just me, which it happens to be in Aries, so it is about you. But it's that, because it's also with Mars. I mean, it is really a strong energy here, looking at a new vision of it. Well, let's go to maybe some USA transits before we sign off in a few minutes.
Sure. And and we just have a comment from 1010 Neil who says, "Hi, Scorpios." Hi, all you Scorpios out there. Hi, 1010 Neil. It's nice to have you.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad. We love getting connections. And we apologize if we've missed people because our focus is here and we have to change the screen a little. So thank you, Amanda. Being a messenger, we're doing our new moon. Well, here we have it. It was shown last month when we did this panel with John. But now Jupiter is distinctly conjunct the natal Mercury of the United States and the USA, which happens to be retrograde, folks. We have a natal retrograde Mercury, which is most amazing. We're always it makes sense. Those pioneers came over here remembering their lost home back in England or wherever else. In fact, PBS had a wonderful special for 2 nights about the Revolutionary War. Ken Burns, oh my goodness, he gives such depth, such insights into ways that aren't really shared. I wish we could talk about all of it. But at any rate, it's a much bigger story of so many different peoples. A lot of Native Americans too that joined one side, and then and Black people, the slaves that England promised things that after the war were like, now what do we do? So they had to anyway. So here we go. But it's Mercury talking to Mercury because of this grand trine, which is in a kite with our natal Neptune that, envisions a lot of things, but, it's a little bit of confusion trying to get the details. Virgo with this holistic picture of everything. It's a tall order. So not to comment.
I mean,
go ahead.
What it makes me think of is the Epstein files being released. Like it's the
part of it.
Yeah.
What's the real truth? What's the story? Let's not forget who belongs and doesn't belong in this story and the rights and et cetera, et cetera. It's the whole picture of this nation.
Yeah. Mercury and Saturn, trining that Mercury, the U.S. natal Mercury.
Restructuring, what to expand, what to exclude.
Yeah.
Yep. It is huge. Times. So true. Well, this is Talk Cosmos, and I am with Amanda Pierce, and it is a great treat as I remember to listen to my unconscious become conscious.
Let's all hope that's our wish for all of you.
And with thankfulness, using the true memory of thanks, because if it weren't for those native peoples here in New York bringing food to those distraught pilgrims, the story could have been different, but so many factors. We're in it together.
Yeah.
So
Well, it was lovely to see you, Sue, and lovely to connect with everybody, and have a wonderful month.
yeah, we'll be back in January for this talk. In December, this group takes a little wee break. We'll be ready to share the moon again. Thank you.
Thank you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.